This is the season of peace and goodwill to all men. All men, at least, who share the same agenda as the speaker. Christianity, any religion, really, is an effort to gather as many men as possible under a shared set of beliefs, values, and priorities. That's why religions are always in competition with each other. That's why, internally, they're always undergoing schisms. All ideologies have this in common, even liberalism, which exhorts everyone above all to value individual freedom. Things get tricky, though, when one individual freedom contradicts another. Which happens a lot, so a highly liberalist society such as ours is a dynamic maelstrom of hotly erupting trickinesses. People tend to point the finger for the obviousness of this at social media, because it makes the tendency so very visible. My own belief is that this is blaming the messaging service. Is the BBC biased? Well, that depends on where it stands compared to where you stand. I didn't hear any edition of the Today program this week, due to deciding recently that it harshed what little zen I possess too early in the morning. But thanks to the internet, I did get to hear about one controversy the radio show had unleashed. In a tweet from the National Secular Society, we've written to the BBC over last Thursday's episode of the Today program, which amounted to a PR exercise for the C of E. As a Scottish secularist, I feel the Society's pain. And yet, just turn it off, National Secular Society, and go about your business. It's literally Christia NMA's, root FFS. Lump it peace and goodwill to all men. And all women and all the gender non-binaries out there. That stuff. But, no, they have written a letter to the BBC. The bias and deference towards the Church of England demonstrated in this show suggests a cozy relationship has developed between the BBC and the Church, which undermines public confidence in the BBC's commitment to impartiality. A cozy relationship has developed? What does the NSS chief executive, Stephen Evans, imagine? That 50 years ago the BBC wouldn't have dreamed of being bold enough to slot in the Archbishop of Canterbury for 15 minutes at Christmas, but has in recent decades been emboldened by the Tudor cult's increasing monopolization of the levers of power? The only reason for giving the C of E any attention at all these days is because you can't help feeling a bit sorry for it. Bless it. Cue outrage. Yes, I know. The Church of England still plays a disproportionately large part in the UK's constitutional structure, especially considering that it's now remarked on only when it manages to hit the headlines with a thrilling conference about the trouble with homophobia in the ex-colonies. Or the daring suggestion that poverty is rotten. But here's the thing, the BBC's commitment to impartiality is a delusion, and in having a C of E fest at Christmas the BBC is doing what it says on its tin. The British Broadcasting Corporation is entirely partial, and is conceived as such. It's British, it sees everything through a prismatic lens marked UK or, more specifically, England. The myth of BBC impartiality is just a Sisyphean rock that the corporation and its staff toil over hourly in pursuit of that great British tradition of self-censorship in the face of anything a bit nasty that probably ought to be faced up to.